start. So thank you for coming, and welcome to Bianca Benenti Oriol and Marco Pezzotta, aka Real Madrid, which is actually a collective show, PC collective, which is based in Berlin and Geneva, but quite around the world, working mostly with installation, environment, propagation, and taxes, around the topic of identity, sexuality, and the complexity that these kind of topics get when projected in specific contexts. They've been showing in many institutions, like the Center for Contemporary Art in Geneva. They have an upcoming show at the New York Museum. They won the Swiss Art Awards last year, and they are currently in show at the Maria Bernard Gallery with a piece in the collection. And welcome. Yeah, I'll let you speak about it.
Okay, thanks a lot. We're going to talk a bit about our research. We're a bit nervous to be here as well. So we hope that everything's going to be smooth. But we thought like we're not really going to make like a portfolio presentation, just like going work after work, but mostly just make an introduction about our research, or like what we have been interested in lately, and the topics that has been influencing our practice, and see how, and then of course we're gonna also like jump from a couple of installation that we did recently, but try to keep it quite smooth, more on the side of the research. But what? So we're gonna like, as recently we're gonna talk like mostly about like this representation of illnesses and death somehow, how they some examples from the past, and I mostly like focus on STI, so sexually transmittable infections, because as a way, of course, like to represent as well, like something that has been like illnesses that for a long time and still are nowadays, like something that there's a sort of mystery in that, like something that's out of the sudden like get people and carry them away, and how you society try to give them a shape or a character, or somehow to understand that. And so we started like with this image actually, as which is like just an example of the Danse Macabre, and I think that many of you like know what it is. This is specifically from Holbein, but the first example was in 1424, and it was in a cemetery in Paris. And usually it was like, so you see like on the skeleton dancing, and usually also like making fun of the people that are alive, and how just in a way as if they were saying to them like they enjoyed it until it lasts, but like giving them a constant reminding of like death. And usually like those representations were happening like after big epidemics, or of like, for instance, like after the Black Plague. Also like as a way to remember it, to remember like what happened, but yeah, as well as getting rid of time of big fears, basically. And there is like another recent example also of this, which is like this tiny bit of Walt Disney in 1929, just to jump a bit from the past to today. Also like, I don't know, we try like to bring a bit of like our, also like how we work in research. So which is like, research based, it doesn't mean like to be strictly academic, like, at least for us. So we also want to put like something that is like more like from 14th century to Walt Disney. This is from Silver Symphony from 1929. Well, we need to see that one. Okay.
So this is where our research started a little bit, and it shared this common interest in our work. And it was clear that at this point, like we saw that this history of like human evolution is like usually told as a story of like humans adapting to an environment, but we also thought that the human body is as well an environment for like bacteria or other microorganisms that's developed inside our body. So it's like a kind of like a co-adaptation in really like fragile equilibrium that put together you have to like adapt in like in a climate, no? So like infectious diseases play this important role in like the history of human any civilization, like not only in like terms of plagues or other deadly diseases, but also things that like now scientists consider as like minor or like more tolerable sicknesses, like for instance, sexually transmitted diseases that nowadays cover this limited number of pages in the medical manuals, like they are considered kind of like marginal. And we have been looking closely as to syphilis because of course it was like being the most documented of STIs that we know about, especially because it like growth, I mean the nameplate broke out when like the print was invented, so of course there is a lot of documentation about it. But nowadays there's like this open debate about the origin, like there is a geographical debate about where the bacteria came from, and the bacteria is called treponema. The debate is focused around the connection among European and the American continent. So the first theory is that syphilis was originated in the Americas and was carried to Europe through Columbus in the end of the 15th century. So then, like, there was this super big outbreak of syphilis. We have some kind of depictions of kind of like painting words in like some ceramics from the pre-Columbian people, for example, the Mexicas that were first in Peru. In these small settlements established independent political organizations that interacted between the valleys. So they were kind of in a bit of constant flux. And archaeologists unearthed many ceramics depicting bodies engaging in sexual intercourse and displaying signatures. Many of them realistically showed genital warts, like you can see the ceramic here.
Which is from a blog.
Yeah. That is image you could find from the blog, the person that went to the Latin Museum and just saw the ceramics and just, I know you could look at that it has like coffee beans spilled over the crotch. And this could be syphilis, could be not syphilis, could be kind of another sicknesses, but it's there. Then there is another theory that says that whenever syphilis was spread to Europe prior to Columbus' travel, but it was not distinguished as such because, for example, we have heard a lot of like the term leprosy, which is like a term that englobes a lot of sicknesses of the skin, and syphilis could be englobed inside this term. For example, in the Bible, there are like lots of references in the Old Testament. For example, it says that Moses described the punishment for disobedience as manifesting as like some stabs and itches, and also David's illness, like it could be like like masquerades leprosy. And of course, there is like all the writings from the classical, like the Greeks and the Romans, for example, like Martial and Juvenal, that describe genital lesions following sexual activity. And of course, in the Middle Ages, these leper houses and these hospitals they tried to contain the leper plague by enclosing the affected people. So most symptoms described in like literature or like figurative representation that has come to our days of sick people can easily confused with like kinds of like sick illnesses. And on the 19th century, these clinical similarities to other diseases resulted in like William Osler referring to syphilis as like the great imitator. And then there's the third theory, which kind of englobes both of the previous ones, saying that syphilis evolved with human populations during prehistory. So this means that according to this, treponematosis, like the bacteria, originated during the Paleolithic as a childhood disease, as a sickness called yaws, and it was transmitted from children to children through like skin contact in a humid climate. So when these groups were moving more into more drier zones, the bacteria was retreating into the moist areas of the body, which is like the mouth, the crotch, and the armpits. Yeah, exactly. Like to, just to survive, like so later these groups have more like cleaner conditions or like because they settled so they had water, so and like separate sleeping quarters, and these became kind of barriers for the bacteria to proliferate. So the bacteria kind of had to find a moment of intimacy that could pass over. So this was again of like sexual intercourse. So at the end, you see that these bacteria previously originated in totally other conditions as to end up choosing this way to transmit itself. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, so I think the city is like traceable in skeletons, so like all these archaeologists like investigated the technique of so you can like really leave marks on your bones, so it's quite easy to trace also like an ancient skeleton, but still like there's no like clear opinion about what is the whereas it was like present in Europe before Columbus or it was dragged to the Americas like with in 15th century. What we know for sure is like that in the 1495 actually was a big invasion of the city of Naples by the French, and that there was like a major outbreak of syphilis right after the city fell. Basically, all the mercenary started like spreading, going back to their homes in different parts of Europe, and that was like when the diseases like this certain to started like spreading and getting like this name. So and what is funny is actually that from that moment, so there was like the disease started like having different names. So basically in Italy it was called the French disease. In France it was called the Napolitan disease. In Portugal the Spanish disease. In Poland was called the German disease. In India was called the Portuguese disease. In Spain the Basque because they have problems with no one apparently. And the Turks called it the Christian disease, and the Pops in the UK actually. And of course, it has also like started like being referred as a Cupid disease. Um, so also like giving already like this connection about like okay intimacy and so yeah intimacy and love and sexual intercourse of course. So we saw like um, then like the moral side of society started getting more moralized in a way. What is meant to be like to have an STI. Anyway, consequently, actually, as syphilis became like as syphilis became like recognizable. What was before called like leprosis started to disappear. And syphilis like started like having a great diffusion, so that by like maybe 50 years after this, it was like maybe 1556, there were like already 58 books published about syphilis, so quite a lot. And also like the thing is that you have like recognizable marks in your face and in your body, like one of them is like that your nose in advanced status, and first like leads with blindness, like unclear vision, and also like the bridge of your nose like started like falling slightly. And so like those marks started as well being as something people would be associating as how do you say not decent. How do you say that? Yeah, or sort of like deviant, yeah, in a way. Yes, as was a symbol, it's like figure in your face, like it started became like figure of like sexual pregnancy. Um, so they were like, what was this thing? Yeah, the remedies actually back then were like mercury or quicksilver. Yeah, like they will like start like put it in your body, put it on the plate, and this will be like imagine like sort of disappear. But as we know today, that this is like quite toxic, but it was working, and as well like for quite a short while in 15th century, in 16th century, and then to the return like in the 18th century, this fashion like people started thinking that this wood called like guaiac wood, that also is referred to as Palo Santo, could cure the syphilis. And like curiosity is also one of them. Maybe some of you heard about like, this famous German family, the Sticker, which was like one of the biggest bank empire in the earliest, made like part of this fortune by like this having the monopoly of this guaiac wood in time. So we just like trying to give an idea of like how these things were really, like super present back then, had like a big impact. It was also like shaping some other things. It's like it was not marginal. It's like maybe perceived to today. Uh, Also like about this moralizing side, the cure was like this type of infamy that it was like I mean not really a punishment but a remedy actually, but it was like done in public where people like would be um, fumigated in a tub with the head out, and then you would have like this steam with salt and with some mercury in order like to cure them, but as well like to show that those people were like having this STI. And then as well there was like this little thingy which is a print um, print from Girl Soup actually. Is a print from 5062? No, 1496. So. And with a little prayer to Saint Denis, which is like the saint that usually represented like with his head in the hand, and he was like, in this sickness also had a saint protector of the ill. So this little print would be like hung in close to the bed of the ill person with a pray for the saint actually to cure or to help this person to feel a bit better. Then at the end, like coming to more or less close to our days, like in the 16th, in the end of 16th century, like syphilis moved from being an epidemic illness to be an endemic illness. So like it's sort of like remained constant, this presence in society. But and then to arrive like to 1923 with the discovery of penicillin actually by Fleming, and it was like quite it started like getting cured. But still after that,
After that, there was the ZHdK case, which was like in recent history. An important thing that happened with syphilis that the ZHdK case was like a clinical study to research syphilis in this like untreated time, conducted between 32 and 72 in Alabama in Tuskegee by the U.S. Public Health Service. We aim to study the natural progression of untreated syphilis in like poor, rural, normally African American men. So they have like I don't know, I think 400 cases, and the patients they didn't know they were being treated for syphilis. They just thought they were being treated by a case of like bad blood, and they thought that they were also were giving health, like free health care. This was a scandal when it was discovered and led to like a massive change in the U.S. regulation concerning medical studies. And of course, this social mechanism of public shaming and moralization led to a consequential guiltiness and apologetic behavior towards STIs. And in terms of social stigma, we could say that maybe the AIDS epidemic of the last 40 years possibly repeated some of the mechanisms already activated by syphilis back then. So it's probably this mechanism originated by sexually transmitted infections that rise the moral judgment, and even stronger if the sickness is deadly. No? Okay. So we have been working between this connection between STIs and apologetic behavior in our latest installations named My Doom. And as you can see, there was this big inflatable in the middle with the title of My Doom, and the name comes from this computer PC virus in the beginning of the 2000s, and it was one of the fastest virus spread through Windows. And this inflatable is like a kind of a policeman or like a drag person with like police clothes. And attached to the ground has like these 4 really long friendship bracelets that are made of cotton. Like these bracelets that the kids that before the iPhone, the kids in summer used to braid, and then you put them on and you're like friends forever.
Done. Easy like that.
Forever.
Easy like that.
And on the back, you can see this red thing is a pattern, like a wallpaper with 3 little viruses with the syphilis, HIV, and gonorrhea. And we thought about it as like a kind of like a tsunami wave of like a kind of that's gonna like attacking this inflatable or something. And the pattern has hidden inside the pattern, there's a secret second pattern that's only revealed through if you like cross your eyes or like you look really like on the thickness, I don't know how to say it. It reveals a 3D image, like it's called an autostereogram. Yeah, like as Marco said before, in like really advanced status of sicknesses that people get a blurred vision, so they could like just easily see that.
Sort of a secret image that will be like always present for people like with permanent damaged vision. So we wanted to keep like this double layer sort of like in the wallpaper actually. And yeah.
The installation, there was also this little frame with the CD cover with the writing on it. Andy, I'm just doing my job, nothing personal, I'm sorry. And this was this message that was encoded in this computer virus. So this showed that it was just like a job given to someone to like produce this virus and spread it. And with the sorry, there were also 4 A4 letters that we found in an archive that we'll talk later about. There are like 4 apology letters of like people that went to the club. There was this one gay club in Johannesburg. And they went to the club and they probably made some things they wish that they wouldn't have done or gotten too drunk or broken something or, I don't know, disrespected someone. And then the next morning they send this letter to the owner of the club being like, hey, sorry, I messed up. Yeah.
Like the thing about the CD that we've seen before is also like we took it because we thought it was nice, like that this message was like coded into the virus in a way as like this sort of an apology. It's like cool. It's like we thought it was like cool, like reading the structure, like what it means like to get sick. It's like this sort of like being sorry in a way, like this apologetic behavior. And then yes, being introduced like this letter of this club in Johannesburg, and also like how they show that whenever like a member of a minority or something like go to a club and like make push it to further, say sort of like get too drunk, and then the day after there's like this apologetic letter. It's also like showing how important like this community is and how strong is the fear actually to step out of the community, or like not to be welcome the day after. No, because many of those letters actually, specifically like not this one, but many of those letters were finishing like, I hope I'm gonna be welcome next time actually to your club. And yeah, we thought it was like making sort of like sense with all this surrounding scenario that we like were like preparing in the show. And those letters from those, actually, maybe it's a way to open like our experience from the last year in this archive, this Gala archive, which is like this gay and lesbian memory in action. It's an archive from it's an LGBT plus archive from Johannesburg in South Africa, and we've been there for quite short residency. Actually, it was like a month, more or less. So we bumped into this archive like way before doing another research, and they had some material we were interested into, and so we started like sort of checking their website and stuff. And what we thought was curious is that the archive was originated 25 years ago from a private wardrobe of a community member that was like collecting publication, and just like keeping them secret in the wardrobe, so people would visit their house and have to like check this thing, but like in this super intimate space. And then with the time, this thing became more official, and so all this memorabilia, all this stuff like started that some other people maybe were having in their cellar and thought, I don't know, like banners for my pride or flyer for LGBT resistance or stuff. So that they didn't want to throw away, found a place in this archive. So it was quite, I mean, it was quite significant for us to be there and to approach this archive in this particular way, because I think there's like in our work a bit this tension of like something very private that may have that becomes like may have like a very public impact or become yeah like a public position, of course. And then there was the same, yeah, the archive is like in the same building of this Witwatersrand University there in the and most of material that we found there. I mean, of course, there was like something also like from the beginning of 20th century, like in particular like a nice photo album with a sailor with some like spicy quote on the back of the pictures. But most of the material were like this A4 printed stuff, like right in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and because of like this time, most of this material we're talking about like. Yeah, the apartheid situation in there, and the HIV crisis all around the world. Like also like material from other archive, and this archive is like what was I saying? Yeah, it was like they were super welcoming, and I would say that we could like check it not in a very academic way all this material, but like also like in a sort of like very narrative, checking one thing and the other thing. They used to like have a researcher maybe more, and we really specified like, okay, no, we're more like artists, and so we would like to see this and then this and then that, and then like maybe with our work like for sort of trying to find like a connection with this within those things.
And we saw like a lot of like the material had like little vignettes. There was like a lot of, and I mean, there were of course a lot of them really kind of scientists. Like they are not really into talking about that. Then there was.
Scientists discover homosexuality among its laboratory mice. There's a mice actually. There's like
has a super decorated cell.
Yeah, I mean all this.
Yeah, and we like saw a lot of material that was approaching like the super serious topics of death and like crisis situations were very crude and brutal humor. So for us, it was like really interesting to have this approach for the. And he says apparently they're giving the kiss of life to somebody and they die and so forth.
This is also in sort of a humorous way done by like something which is like trying to face something that is very scary, of course, but at the same time like trying to face it with a sort of humor.
This one said, "It's my parents. Quick, tell me anything or something heterosexual to say." And now, of course, the representation again of like the gay people or like heterosexual people as like it's so like possessed by the devil.
LBC.
Yeah. So yeah, we went also through a lot of like prevention campaigns, of course, in the for these printing materials. And one of the most famous ones that was like I thought about in the US, but mostly applied in Africa, like in Nigeria and Uganda. It was the ABC campaign, which stands for abstinence-based sex educations. And it stands for abstain, be faithful, and compromise. This was like maybe between the 90s and 2000s. And then after this, the rates of HIV slightly dropped, but I don't think that was the case for this. And then there's this one that completes a little bit more the ABC with the D for die at the end. It's very. And then we found this one about having a very bright future with no sex. So yeah, we found like all these prevention campaigns that were varying during the years and the places where they were.
It's funny to see the powers in your hand.
And many countries, for example, and this is for Switzerland, for the rural areas of Switzerland. Yeah, and some campaigns that were choosing to like depict the virus in a very scientific way, and others were more like depicting it as a monster or like a fantastic creature.
Yeah, like here on the left there is the herb.
Yeah, and the idea that like viruses are aggressive creatures that attack the human body is like and invade our cells from the inside. It was like super influential on research and prevention campaigns. So you already get this like image of the virus as something like. And here's a little clip from Italian.
Yeah, it was in the early 90s.
Huh?
Do you remember the? Yes.
Yeah.
It was actually quite famous, and they depict an anti-AIDS campaign. So and people saw that carry the virus, they have this aura,
Very pure.
this beautiful song.
Yeah.
I know you have that
L'AIDS
song.
si trasmette anche attraverso rapporti sessuali con persone già infette. Ecco perché più partner si cambiano, più rischio si corre. Ed è così che l'AIDS
Yeah, it's
può
saying
crescere
that more
colpire
partners you have, more you
L'AIDS
can
è
share
più
it.
vicino di quanto pensi. Pensiamoci prima di avere rapporti sessuali occasionali con persone diverse. E comunque in quei casi usiamo sempre il preservativo per ridurre il rischio. AIDS, se lo conosci lo eviti, se lo conosci non ti uccide.
Yes. So this was
Representing sickness very evident.
and yeah, like this representation of the virus as like this bad character. It was like we found this cartoon, maybe you know it, it's called Once Upon a Time Life. And it represents the human body as a society in itself. So it means that the body has like humans working inside, and like the I don't know, the veins are the highways, and the brain is like the center of operations, and the red blood cells are like workers, and of course the virus is like the punk, the antisocial person that has like no future, and the cops or like the controllers, military, whatever, is like the immune system. And we worked inspired in this. We did these sculptures in glass, handmade glass, titled Some days are diamonds, some days are stone. And we took these like red blood cells that are supposed to like work really hard, bringing oxygen everywhere, and we just made them not working, just getting stone on the oxygen they're supposed to give to the heart or to like not being productive at all. And then there were these little two images. With the one on the right is an ad we saw in a small gay bar in Texas, in San Antonio. And there was this ad selling vodka virus in this like chemical bottle and saying ask your server for the cure and like kind of like in a zombie apocalypse situation. And the other one is a extract from an epigram from Juvenal saying, but the doctor smiled as he removed the figs from your smooth anus. So already in like the Roman time, they were talking about STIs in this coded way with like calling the genital warts figs.
Juvenal is like, they were mostly Juvenal and Marshall that did that. One is from the first and one from the second century actually. Both of them like used to write this epigram, like very short little poem, with sort of an ironic view on society. And they had like this section that's like particularly dedicated to this sexual behavior. And so in that the case actually they used this element of the figs, which is something like very local, very Mediterranean, in order to recognize something that's happening on your body. So also like this transposition between like, okay, what you see every day in the natural surrounding yourself and then how what you see like happening, flourishing on your genitals.
And there was another epigram from Marshall that said, in order to buy some slave boys, Lepinius sold his garden, but now he has only an orchard of figs. So
Together with this like little, with this sculpture and like the two springs, there was like this stick, like this street sign, like there in the middle, like pointing this four direction, but like pointing nowhere because there is no sign, just like this four direction. And then on it, we put this fresh figs. They were like sort of flourishing in this like intersection, and they stay there. They are supposed to stay there for more or less for as long as it lasts the show, or like so they usually carry a lot of flies. They get rotten. They get
juice.
Yeah. Just we're going already. Yeah. We're going already towards the end actually. Because like we were like looking at this mechanism to confront this situation of crisis and this mechanism to understand what's going on, when it's going on an epidemic, when it's going on a sickness. We wanted to finish with this example, which is like, and also because we're personally sort of like interested in this independent publication of breathing matters that happening like in 1993. There was in LA this group of people with AIDS actually that did like this publication called Diseases Pariah News, which is like supposedly like what is that, a magazine or I don't remember, like maybe
Or made by people
patient with AIDS, and they had like this very black humor, like super hardcore. Like basically, it was like a booklet, and you had I think like 11 issues that came out with a comic story of this like Captain Condom that were like fighting with the spread like HIV virus. It was like represented as sort of like a spider, and then you had like this advertisement of like AIDS Barbie, and Kaposi sarcoma can. So you can choose for the AIDS Barbie with malignant lymphoma and gynecological complication, or with Washington syndrome and CMV with retinitis, or with Kaposi sarcomas. So and also like they had this section of like culinary section of cooking, but actually which was super serious because it was like making recipes about like trying to give the right nourishment to the people that were like carrying the virus, but also there was called like get fat, don't die, and they were like describing themselves like not scent of death. It's just a couple of guys who ran into a danger genius, basically. This was this finished. Of course, this finished. This is part actually it's over, and we wanted to close this talk or whatever you say, like the way we started somehow. We started like with this dance macabre, with the dance, and like on this Easy Pariah news, actually there was like this poem from Roman Michkowski that was has been published, that was called like the Eighth Dance, which yeah, I'm not really funny. I'm not really. You can read it. They say like, gee, Mr. Science, what are you going to do? Look, Billy, I'm going to prove that water is liquid. But Mr. Science, are you going to help us? Now, oh, you can read by yourself.
It was good. It was good.
No,
Yeah,
no.
no, okay. Now watch us how this potato can conduct electricity. But Mr. Science, Jimmy and Mikey and Bobby and Teddy are dead already. See how mold grows in a petri dish. But so are Sammy and Ronnie and Jenny and Johnny, and our magnets are fascinating, Billy. But Artie, Louie, Stevie, Danny, Todpoles, Nether's magician, I call them. Mr. Science, I don't feel so good myself. Billy, did you know that rust is a really slow form of burning? Oxidation, we call it in the science business. Yes, we sure can learn a lot from science, Billy. Now, what have you learned today? Now, Billy, are you paying attention? Billy? Yeah.
Thank you.
That's it, I hope.
Do you have any questions, really? Maybe you want to ask.
Do you care that people don't care nowadays? Their age? It's like
Yes.
this thing, and it's such a small shift of generation. I think it's like 5 years.
Mhm.
If I speak to people who's 5 years younger than me, they couldn't care less. I'm married and I have kids, and I still think about it. And probably because of all the propaganda we were fed, and people now it's all like on TV, just like, oh, be careful. It's like,
Stuff like that.
yeah, they just don't.
There is
I mean,
a series of meme actually of like about like gays with rap feels like, you know, there's like this guy like licking the floor or something. It's like, why not rap anyway?
yeah.
But there's been a shifting of
Yeah, but then there's another meme of
Perception.
like an image of like gonorrhea and being like guys on prep, and then gonorrhea is like hi. So
getting ready.
yeah.
Is your work a way of like bring that awareness back, or is it more about this idea of just like what the believe as social structure?
It's more about representation of like all STIs in general, more than like being focused like strictly on like the field how the field of AIDS changed. I think it's like more on the representation. First, I mean, it's talk like mostly maybe on the representation of illnesses. It's something that we need to understand or like to accept. Yeah, to like find a way to understand, because it's still like sort of a super mysterious dynamic. As we say, that sometimes it's there and it's healthy, and then all of a sudden it's sick for some reason. Yeah, I think that mostly like in this perception of STI, because they also like add this special layer of social shame as well.
And do you never think your work in perspective to the work of other artists that were actually active in a moment where AIDS was actually killing people, like around 1890s? Or do you see your work in projection to that tradition, or general idea?
I mean, of course, you know, the world, of course.
Yeah,
They
no.
are there, but
You don't specifically think about this group.
I mean, not when we do the work, but of course we know the work and we know it.
Because I'm just asking because the topic, I mean, it's kind of same topic, but with a very different social cultural context.
No.
And anyway, you're living also in a city which is the capital of AIDS in Europe, so I guess sort of New York of that somehow. But with very different condition, like she said, like nobody's really caring because it's just something you can live with, it seems. So the answer is
I need to refer as I mean, as going to say like we love the approach that we had, like especially something like the style is also like super emotionally. And it's amazing like how they take the fear and they like really like how it's also like a mechanism of taking a fear and making it understandable somehow. Giving, an experience that is acceptable, because I think we start from the point that the experience of death is not understandable. So maybe this mechanism is like just make them in one way more clear. And of course, like if we really not done the work for maybe my research will be more common, even that experience helps you to understand what has been to that state, and we maybe our work will make that in different sense.
But it is context related, like, or it's just something more personal. Like it's Berlin, the city you live, somehow something
But
essential.
it's both, no? I mean, maybe you cannot separate these things. Like we are a person that lives in a context, so of course they are both. Different.
They went, it was like more or less 11 years ago, so it was like more Stalinist life now, and like maybe less used to it, or like less. Yeah, no, I have another view. Maybe this would have, I don't know if this perception would have changed also like in other contexts. But there, of course, like you have sexuality present like every corner. Like you go out of metro station, you have like this image of like there's a king inside you. Yeah.
I mean, you have been also traveling quite a lot. Like I saw you in South America, so I guess that's also quite important. I mean, there is this analogy of the virus as a passenger, and also you spoke about how disease kept different kind of names according to geographical area.
Yeah,
I guess that experience are quite important for you.
Yeah.
To keep.
yeah.
And how it was in Brazil, for example. Like I have the feeling it's a next level presence. In Sao Paulo, you were in Sao Paulo for
What do you mean by next level?
I have the impression it's the problematic is more diffused.
Yeah, like you want to
But also like the topic of sexuality and sexualization for sexuality is treated in another way.
Yeah,
As you say, Berlin is like very much present, like so like Switzerland is probably present in another way. There, when we were there, we went there with the aim of like making video research, so like an animation, something that became different things. With this group of teenagers that would like gather every Sunday afternoon in a park just to dance. We were like super gender bender basically, but also like there was like this elements of sexuality, of sexual intercourse was like constantly present. And because we've been there twice, like the last year and this year, and we noticed like how as well there is like a state structure like gets into this gathering. So you have like now this year compared to the last year, you have like a massive presence of police, for instance, that try to those people that don't gather, or like they do it in a more normative way.
Yeah.
They don't disturb visually what a place is basically very touristic, as this part of the Villa or like the place underneath the Mask Museum. It's both version of like how you use your sexualization in your body in order to get rid of another human being, and how society tries to tell you to do that.
Any question? I think
Yes.
did you start before being Real Madrid working together, or
What?
if you started before? Well, it is existing since 2015. So
Yeah. But yes, I mean before we were not called really started working together and we said we would become
Yeah.
family. But yeah, we started to work together like super organically,
Mhm.
and suddenly we're like, ah, fuck, we're working together. Okay. So it's happened with like a bit of time.
And so, no, I think that was like your question, so this question, how does it change it also, like, whenever like you have a point of interest, which is like your personal, or you have something you could like immediately you share it to the other person. And so I think in that case it's different to work in a collective as well, like getting an STI or like working about STI is something that you do it, but you don't even process it so much.
Yeah.
You just like process it immediately, like with another, with the experience of somebody else, which it changed a lot.
Yeah. Also because your work is mostly the top like research based. So I guess then there's this process of turning all this material into objects or installation. So it's also a moment of exchange. In the moment of exchange, I guess it's going to be like you're doing archive of material or are you
Memes.
that is
We had a work in also around like 3 years ago, and I was wondering if to this work. Yeah.
We don't have images here.
I have it on my computer. Is the changing room? Yeah. Is it?
Yeah, it's in.
And a second.
Did you see his work? You were there.
Stacco.
Sì, let's see this works. Yeah. Yeah. It's another one.
No.
I don't want to get weird messages.
So the title is Rush, and it was from 2017. And there were 2 locker rooms, like I don't know, like 2 locker rooms in 2 different positions, and on top of, or like on each extremity of them, there were these like platforms. Like you can see,
I can shine a bit the light.
yeah, converting like this like structure of the locker room into like a kind of like a totem, or like in this case the one on the left is like a battering ram, so the one that you're supposed to like to open doors.
And so there were like these 2 elements of like the same thing with the same material with the same form, but like in 2 versions, like sort of like this transformated version, and one is just like standing, and this other one is like pointing to the wall. This is sort of set as if this changing room, in this locker room, like people would have like taking what they found in there, so this locker, and transform them like into this battering ram to break a wall and then get off all the clothes.
Like a portal movement.
Yeah. And the clothes were like the sport garments, were like 5 uniform of sports, but they were like all hand knitted in this like silver lame, silver thread. It reminded a bit of like this armor thingy, and they were like sort of like too sweated to be protective, and left on the floor like. And so it was like this sense of like this empty room, like left, like in a sort of a rush of horniness in a way, or whatever, like get to like out of the room as fast as you can. But there was like this thing that like remained in the
There was like the
tumbleweed.
tumbleweeds that I actually brought from Texas, and it was there like in the room that to kind of like symbolize the I don't know,
And-
yeah,
And the embarrassing,
loneliness or
also the embarrassing silence. Now you have this gift when you like you, the person in front of each other, and then like there's like really nothing to say, or like the moment it's like tumbleweed rolling around.
and tumbleweed is like normally a plant is rooted to the land so it cannot move, and then the only way this plant can move is through death. So when it dies, then it can start traveling and like rolling around. In this case, rolling till moves on.
So yeah, this sort of like really setting of the situation that we want to like to give to the viewer, like this idea of like getting into a place where something super quick happened, but and also something quite surreal because at the end, like the horns that were supposed like to break the wall. I mean, the wall is intact, and the horns are out of glass, so also there's like this impossibility of like maybe opening any portal in a way. But you wanted to know something specific.
No, I just yeah, been information on the practice.
Okay.
It made me wonder why you decided to
With,
I think it was quite a lot in glass.
yeah, we did work with glass like 3 or 4 times actually. I mean, after a while, I don't know if after a while, but like after a couple of times, like you get sort of like a feeling with the material, so it's
You also get used to thinking the code of that material, so you super easily would just assume it's going to be in black just because you know.
and then there's like some also like maybe some also moments in which like we follow, okay, this has to be in glass, like with the images that we've seen before of like these 3 babies. There's one, at a certain point we thought like, okay, if we really want to talk about this STI in the way that we want to, we want something that's like really shiny, like
Fragile.
yeah, fragile and like really, yeah, more of sort of like this sense of also not really organic in a way, but as well, yes, spreading this material because it collapsed at any room and like exactly in the shape as it collapsed.
Also, it allows you to imagine something, but when it's done, like you imagine it in a way, but when it's done, it's always like because the material has so many limitations. It's never like a 3D scan or something.
There was this first work we did in glass, and I don't know if you've seen it.
The eyes.
Yeah, like this was like really the
Tear.
yeah, it was like really the sorry quickest portfolio review of the work. This one was and it was in 2016, so long ago. Early practice. And this was like really the first time which we felt like, no, we cannot do that in glass, we cannot afford it, we cannot, I don't know. I mean, at the end, it felt like you sort of like break a wall and you get like close to material and feel like, no, this is cool and it's doable and it's like, and it was like this 2 tiers / base, they were like substaining like this glass eyes. sort of like transforming the room into like this crime phase and would like, they were very, they're living.
His work was shown in the sun, right?
Yes. At the Silicon Valley. Ah. True. For this one.
Any more questions?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.